Hey guys, if you like what you're seeing, be sure to click below to subscribe and share. It's not just about the photograph, it's the outdoor experience. Keep in mind everything that you need to know about photography. F-stop, shutter speed, lens selection. Nice photo. I've got beautiful light now. Oh my God. I'm your host, Doug Gardner, and your wild photo adventure starts now. This week, myself and nature photographer Jason Hahn will continue our journey through the Florida Everglades. Be sure to join us as we continue to traverse the brackish water mangroves and then make our way out to the saltwater estuaries. I'm your host, Doug Gardner, and your wild photo adventure starts now. All right, well, this afternoon we're gonna try to find some roseate spoonbills, I guess. So far, no luck. This is a big area, Jason.
Oh yeah, they don't call it the 10,000 Islands for no reason. There's a lot of little coves that they're going to be in, and you just got to find where they're feeding or resting, and they're going to go depending on where how deep the water is.
Right, and tide is falling still,
exactly.
And it's still mid-afternoon. Hopefully we'll have some luck closer towards this afternoon.
And as it cools down a little bit, the sun drops in the sky, you're going to see the birds getting a little more active. And as that tide drops, it's just uncovering new food sources for them. So they're going to be going out to those, and if we can find where they're going to go for dinner, then we're going to have a good evening ourselves.
Excellent. Let's do it. Hey Jason, it doesn't look like they're up in this cove.
Nope.
We got to keep looking. Maybe we'll find a stilt or something else, maybe even white pelican.
Well, the cool thing about this place is you never know what you're going to find right around the next corner.
So now all this is mangrove too?
Yeah.
Now, so what's the difference between this and the mangroves we were in yesterday?
Well, this is a different subspecies of mangrove. We've got 3 different species of mangrove in Florida, the red, white, and black, and this is the red, which is, you can see it's the root structure on these are really big mounds of roots that kind of hang down into the water. That's characteristic of the red. And it's those roots that really help during hurricanes and stuff to absorb storm surge.
That was cool.
Yep, that was cool.
Well, I think there are birds of some sort around on that point because I just saw a bird go down back there. Hey Jason, look back over here. We got some willets.
Yeah, they're...
Wanna try to set up on them?
Yeah, they've got some really nice dark water there. I think we might get some good reflection shots.
I think what we'll probably need to do, let's paddle up to the bank here, let the wind work in our favor and drift us back down.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
All right, let's see how it pans out. Just a slow, easy approach. They look pretty relaxed so far.
Yeah, they sure do. Another species in here. I'm not quite sure what he is, but he's not the same as the rest of these guys.
Just that quick, Jason, we went from horrible light to some really nice light.
You know, we got some nice birds. There's enough spacing between them you can isolate and get some nice portraits.
And the nice thing about this situation is they're almost neutral gray.
Yeah, it's a real easy exposure situation.
Yeah, you can trust your meter on this shot. I'm getting some nice reflections too off the water.
The still water is really nice.
That was a great opportunity.
Yeah, it was.
I tell you what, that was just, you never know what's around the next bend.
Yeah.
I really want to try to find some roseate spoonbills.
Yeah, there's plenty more places to explore, so let's see what we can find.
Doug, there's a cut up to your right up here. I think there's spoonbills back in there too.
Okay. All right, Jason, right there around the bend, looks like we got some white pelicans.
Yeah, that's a whole bunch of them. We ought to get up on that. The light's getting
let's
really
try.
good.
We don't have much light left, maybe half an hour or so. I don't know if we're gonna be able to do it. We'll try it though.
With the mangroves, one of the cool things is the really dramatic backdrops you get. As the sun drops, you can see because of the shape of the tree, those lower areas go into shadow. So what happens is you get a black backdrop for your wildlife. And with these white pelicans, it's real easy to make it go totally black. You just underexpose slightly to protect the whites. Those mangroves would go all black and you end up with really dramatic images. that was
pretty cool. A little bull shark. Oh, they're taking off, Jason. This is nice. Nice. Again, behind you. Nice flight stuff. Coming by you, Jason. Coming by you. Watch out for those whites. You can easily overexpose those whites on an afternoon like this. Well, that wasn't exactly what I was hoping for, but you know, we did manage to squeeze off a couple shots.
That's wildlife photography. It's kind of like being a bit of a gambler. You never quite know what you're going to get, but
exactly.
It was still pretty cool, that, and having sharks bumping into the boat's always kind of an interesting afternoon.
Hey, but you know what? It's not always about the picture.
That's true.
It's the outdoor experience.
Absolutely.
But you know what? We still got a few more minutes left in this day. Let's keep going and see what else we can find. Getting shallow too. What do you suspect we'll run into this morning?
Well, where we're at right now, this is saltwater, and there's a lot of estuary here. We're at the end of the Everglades, so to speak. So all that fresh water is flowed down into here, where we're right on the edge of the Gulf of Mexico. It's a tremendous area for a nursery for fish. And, we see all kinds of things out here, everything from dolphins and manatees to bald eagles, avocets, rosettes, spoonbills. Just a tremendous diversity of wildlife out here. And animals come here to raise their young, they come here to feed, to forage, to find their mates. It's just an amazing place. And it's this entire Everglades ecosystem, this is the end result of it.
Right.
All this wildlife out here.
Right. Well, let's get the kayaks in the water and start exploring this area. So Jason, how do you want to approach these birds?
Well, what we want to do is we're going to use the wind and the currents to our advantage here. So we want to stay close together so that we don't present a threat from two different directions, because then they start to feel pinched. So let's move up here a little bit so that we have the sun and the wind at our backs, and then we'll let the wind and the water kind of push our kayaks across down in front of them.
Maybe get up here next to these mangroves and just drift down the side of this.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, working from these kayaks, even though it's a preferred method for me, it takes a little while getting used to, especially when you're using a big lens. You don't have a whole lot of swing. You actually need to keep repositioning the kayak, because if you swing too far, you'll get your weight off center and you're going in the water with all your expensive equipment. But if you just take your time, slow down, the birds will get used to you, and you can just real gently kind of maneuver the boat a little bit and get the boat lined up so you have a nice comfortable stance. You're not fighting your balance the whole time. But Jason, you pretty much shoot out of kayaks all the time down here, don't you?
Yeah, when you approach from the water, you can really get up close on some of these animals. They don't have a lot of threats from the water, and when we are out here, I guess they just kind of think we're hanging out and fishing too.
But is this kind of a typical scenario for the Everglades?
Yeah, it is. If you can get into approaching by kayak or by wading in the right places, you can get in pretty close. But that being said, there's still some species that are a bit more timid, and you just really need to be very patient, take your time, let them realize that you're not a threat. Like when we're paddling, try to keep the paddles low to the water, not move them around and bang them too much. Hey, look, right over there, that really pretty male pelican looks like he's coming into breeding color.
When I'm photographing in bright sun and I have subjects with considerable amount of white on them, I always try to expose for my highlight areas. And because if you blow those whites out and you can't see detail anymore, you're never going to get them back. I tend to shoot about a third of a stop under. I like my stuff a slightly underexposed. It richens the colors up, really seems to help. Let's ease up here a little bit. I've got some pretty good pelican stuff. Let's ease up here and see if we can get those avocets. Those are really cool birds. Even though I'm shooting a 500mm lens with a 1.4 converter, it's still kind of small in the frame. This one little sandbar's got a lot of species on it by itself. I mean, we got, looks like pelicans and oyster catchers. I see a few royal terns. This is really nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's pretty good diversity. We got about 15, 20 species here. There's a whimbrel over there, got a marbled godwit there, and those guys, they look great in the late day light. You get that golden plumage just lights up.
I really want to try to I want to ease over here to the right out here on the end of the sandbar, it looks like avocets, and that's something I've always wanted to get some really good shots of. Those are beautiful birds.
Yeah, and that's a good idea too, trying to get to the edges of the group. It's really hard when you have these big groups of birds to isolate. And you know, it's cool to get the group, you want to get the group behavior because these are flocking birds. But if you really want to isolate and just get that single great shot of an individual bird, you've really got to work the edges and look for the birds that are out on those edges.
But when I'm shooting one particular bird in the middle of a group, a lot of times I'll use a real shallow depth of field, maybe a f-stop of f4 or 5.6 with a long lens, and I'll focus on that one bird in the middle of the group, and it just kind of blur out everything in the background and in the foreground. It kind of gives you that feel as if you're sitting right in amongst the group, but yet that one bird in the middle will pop out, and it's pretty obvious which one you're focusing on.
My little trick, if I want to isolate a bird, trying to pick which one to go after and work with, is I look for the sleeping bird, because that's the bird that's the most comfortable with me, and he'll stay put. And as his fellows kind of move in and out and around, they'll give you an opportunity of just to be able to isolate that bird.
This is a really good setup too, not only because of the wind and the light and the fact that we've got a lot of subjects right here in front of us, but the perspective, you know, working from a kayak, that's one of my favorite ways of photographing birds and other wildlife. It gets that lens down close to the water, close to their eye level, you know, for a much more intimate shot. But with this specific setup, the sandbar is also elevated, you know, 4 or 5 inches, which brings perspective of my lens even lower to the water.
Right, and it helps you really compose that background. And we talk about background a lot. You know, the more distant your background is, the easier it is to blur it out and use it to frame your subject. You know, sometimes you want that more environmental shot, you want something that's a little more busy to really show where they live, but other times you want to just frame your subject and let that background kind of go out of focus.
If you look right over here, behind the sandbar, there's a nice slick area on the water where the sandbar is kind of causing a windbreak and you don't have any ripple on the water. It just looks like the birds are standing on a blue piece of glass.
Oh yeah, yeah, and at the right times you're even getting some nice reflections back in there.
All right, Jason, it looks like they're getting ready to take flight. Might be able to get some good flight shots.
Yeah, they're probably just going to get up and circle around and come back. So this is a good time to make sure you got your shutter speed good and high so that you can really freeze that action in flight. And I like to try to just pick a bird and watch him come in to try to make sure that I get that one right as they flare out and land.
And a lot of times when you have a big group of birds flying around, it's hard to decide which one you want to focus on. And by the time you make the decision, it's too late.
Yep.
What I generally try to do when I have a flock, instead of trying to pick one out of the middle of the flock, I look for one on the outer edge.
Right.
You know, it's a lot easier to stay on him. It's a lot easier to keep your concentration on focusing on that one bird.
Well, when you go with the middle of the flock too, there's odds are you may get other birds in your frame, and you're going to have parts and pieces of birds that are going to conflict with, you know, your main subject.
Yeah, you may have a wing or
Exactly.
a foot hanging out one side of your frame. That was pretty good, man. I mean, what a wonderful opportunity. Back off a little bit. All right, this is pretty unfortunate. All right, we got it off. It wasn't bad tangle, thank goodness. You want to find some dry ground? I think you'll make it. It's unfortunate little fellas like this get hung up in fishing line left floating in the water. Unfortunately, all too often we see this kind of thing with plastic bottle straps and fishing line, fishing nets. You just gotta be careful. All right, well, we've found some nice dry ground. I think this fella's gonna be all right. He's just weak and sopping wet, so we're gonna put him up here on some dry ground, let him dry out. When you think about Everglades, I realize that this includes salt water too, but I really didn't think about dolphins. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's why when we started off in Fat Strand, all the water there is going to end up here, and the health of that water is important to not just that place, but this place as well.
Well, we are right in the middle of a pretty good pod of dolphins. This is pretty nice. All right, he's coming right at us. Come on, baby. Breach. This Frank's right out there. We're shooting waterfowl. This is tough. Looks like we've got some mating going on and some feeding and pretty nice situation. They just kind of surrounded us.
Yeah, and just again, kind of paying attention to behavior, pay attention to what direction, and you can kind of watch their wakes through the water and time when to start your shots.
And in situations like this, it's extremely important to have your motor drive running because you will not get the shot unless you're extremely lucky, which I'm not. All right, he's right there. He's coming to you. Well, like always, Florida never ceases to amaze me, and my time here in the Everglades has been something really special. We got some great photographs and a ton of great experiences. I'd like to thank Jason Hahn with Outdoor Photo Workshops for sharing these experiences with me. I'd also like to give a special thanks to Bruce Hitchcock with Everglades Area Tours for keeping us safe and putting us into great locations for great photographs. Remember, it's not just about the photograph. It's your outdoor experience. I'm your host, Doug Gardner. Thank you for joining me on another wild photo adventure. Really cool area, I tell you. We're fighting paddles like crazy.
Yeah, playing bumper boats here.
Yeah.
Look, over there. I think those are wild cameramen.
Yeah, it's the elusive skunk ape.
Yeah. You know, don't let them get too close. They can be dangerous.
We'll have some good opportunities.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Don't want to say we'll have some great shots. They might suck.
Hey guys, if you like what you're seeing, be sure to click below to subscribe and share.